I'm Gab. He's Jules. Gray skies over West London, but that's okay because we're here to brighten things up.
Yeah,
Very gray over Stamford Bridge after that horrendous performance. Wild stuff at Fulham, but City win. But we're going to start in La Liga, Jules. Barcelona against Atletico Madrid. Now,
big
going
game.
into this, we saw it the weekend. I mean, both teams rotate a little bit, but
Yeah,
Atleti changed a lot. They changed a ton. They had a plan. And it didn't work out. I thought Barcelona absolutely wiped the floor with them in difficult circumstances as it happened. I mean, given the fact that we had to see Gerard Martin at center back,
yeah.
given that Pedri now there's an issue, um, this could have been worse. I was impressed with
I
what
don't
they put
know.
together. It's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
look
I think
flimsy, but
Flick said it was the best game in a while, which I kind of agree with. Although Thiago Almada has a good chance to make it 2-2, Baena opened the scoring too, so it was not perfect again defensively from a Barcelona point of view. But going forward, they are quite a fantastic team. So it's the same that we say a lot really. Defensively, there are a lot of issues. I still think that they missed Frankie de Jong in that midfield, and defensively, Martin and Kubasi as two centre backs is difficult, really. So I really think that Atletico could have taken advantage of it, and they were not far from it, really, especially if you consider that Gerard Martin could have been sent off, or maybe should have been sent off even. So things could have turned differently, but going forward with the ball, Barcelona are just so good. When Rafinha is also in this kind of form, plus Lamine, it's pretty good.
I was surprised given that he's played a front two virtually the whole year, and given that he kind of set up that way. All right, I didn't expect Sorloth to start, but you do have Griezmann and you do have Raspadori. To play Julien on his own, with sort of Baena and Nico floating behind, I thought that was part of a plan, but I also thought that plan was kind of thrown out when they lost Cardoso so early.
Yeah, there was a few injuries in that game, Cardozo included in that kind of double pivot. Baena has played off the striker a lot recently. I think he likes him a lot, and he took his goal really well, to be fair. It's just, I just don't think, I think they had to defend better to just stop Barca scoring. And like you said, Lewandowski missed a penalty, like a really poor penalty from him. Things could have gone worse defensively from Atletico, which is a bit of a problem probably. Going forward, I think they did what we expected them to do, but defensively it was more of a struggle, really.
Well, you said what you would expect them to do, which is what? Play on the counter. But that plan, obviously, they took the lead via VAR, correct decision. And we know that that's almost like one of those, I don't want to call it self-inflicted, and people have gone over the high line over and over again, but it is a continuous risk, right? Because,
Yeah,
look, let's be real about this. When the run happens and the pass happens, it's not like the forward knows that he's offside or he's onside, right?
yeah,
When it's that close, you're always gambling, and it's always a gamble. Sometimes it works,
yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
so I think we can put that to one side. I did think though, with those defenders, you know, maybe you can put together a different threat rather than the quick having sort of going for the quicker guys, whether you want to call it Nico or Baena, the technical guys, and going more for the heavier side guys. I think starting Sorloth at the weekend and then you lose them, especially once Coquet comes into the game. I was like, why not do something more bold? Because
Yeah.
you know where this is heading.
But I think that's the plan for the second half, and they did that. And to be fair, there were moments in the second half when they looked good. And again, Thiago Almada should have really scored and to make it 2-2 at the time before the late goal by Ferran. So in a way, you could look at it from an Atletico side point of view and think, okay, it kind of worked. What he tried to do at the beginning, Baena opened the scoring. They were 1-0 up. They should have been 11v10. In the second half, they obviously changed, and they've got depth in their squad. We say it's a really good squad that they have. They changed, and they almost benefited from it. In the end, I know another night Barca could be 3-0 up by the time
It would have
that
been a smash and grab, I
changed.
think, had they equalized.
Yeah, for sure. But they were not far either. Again,
How serious? Well, we're gonna talk about the center back situation because I think this is really serious.
yeah.
Pedri, again, there's going to be questions now about his fitness.
Yeah.
Um,
On French television, they were hoping that it was just cramps. It looked more like
It
no
looks
cramps.
muscular. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another question mark. All right, Jules, let's try to understand this a little bit better. We have to talk about. I wish we didn't have to talk about Barcelona's defending, but we have to.
Yeah.
I think we share the view on the high line, so we don't need to spend too much time on it, which is it's okay to play that way if you have the right players to do it who can execute. There's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way to do it. Too often, it's the wrong way. And people can say Barcelona are still top of the table. Yeah, but they still leak too many goals, and they look too shaky.
Yeah.
Because they simply haven't put resources into defenders. In this case, I'm not an Eric Garcia fan, but right now you have Ronald Araujo who's deciding that he's going to take time off, personal reasons. Even if they weren't there, the footballing reasons are why he shouldn't be on the pitch. Andreas Christensen's a guy who's been constantly in and out, came on this time. Obviously, he didn't think he was ready to start. And so once De Jong goes down in midfield, he decides to move Eric Garcia there.
Yeah.
Again, he's in training every day. He sees this. But I think it's a huge call, and it sends a huge negative message as well to Mark and Mark. I know Bernal, who looked so good before his long injury, came back. I know he's had some issues. I know Casado hasn't been on the level that he was at last year, but at least those two guys are midfielders.
Yeah.
At least those two guys can impersonate De Jong a little bit. And it looked to me, by moving Eric Garcia, who, as you know, I don't like,
Me neither.
as a footballer, as a person, I'm sure he's lovely. You weaken the center back position because then you have to play Gerard Martin there, who's not a center back.
No, he's a left back. Yeah.
And he's 6'1".
Yeah.
And he
completely.
doesn't have the moving, and we saw that as well.
Yeah. Completely. I guess he's left-footed though, so he can play on the left side of that centre back. Kubasi on the right hand side. It's a very young, obviously, pairing too. I also think that the problem is not so much them and the mobility. I mean, it is to a certain point, but it's also what they do in midfield in terms of pressuring the ball. And Eric Garcia cannot do that because he just doesn't have that energy. And Pedri is obviously very busy doing other things than thinking about, I should press the ball and close it down. Otherwise, he's going to go over the top and we're going to struggle. That's why this midfield too, and I'm not sure if Casado would sort this out either, to be fair, but that's why this midfield doesn't work. And that's why this midfield, even the De Jong Pedri one, is a bit more difficult to play with a high line behind because of that. So, but we can talk as much as we want about it. Nothing's going to change. I thought 3 weeks ago that Flick tweaked it a little bit, and they were a little bit more cautious, not going all in. But on looking at this game and the one at the weekend, it's clear that they go back to the super high line, super aggressive. That I think through the rest of the season, if they keep that, will cause them a lot of trouble.
I think, like you said, it can work. If the defenders are higher quality, and these guys simply aren't, because athleticism can make up for tactical mistakes or misreadings. If there is a press, if they make better decisions, which I don't know that they necessarily have the experience to do that, to be honest. And all three things have to happen, you get the right kind of press further forward. And I'm surprised. I know Dani Olmo came off injured. Like you said, he's off fair. I think he was in good form. But Dani Olmo does come before he came to Barcelona. He was at a team that, did a lot of pressing centrally. So you should have the mindset for that. Ferran Torres, I think, can do it because he's got the mindset to do it. I mean, whatever you fought Ferran Torres for, I don't think work rate is one of those things. Fermin, when fit, can do it. The questions become maybe Rafinha and Lamine Yamal.
Although it doesn't come from the balls in behind, never come from there. They come from higher up. So you can press the build-up phase of the opposition, sure, but they're never going to hit the ball from the box over the defensive line from Barcelona. So it comes. That's why I mentioned the midfield.
When they're pressing so far up the pitch, we've seen it. We've seen players running from their own half.
But the ball comes. The ball comes from a midfielder, rarely from the opposition's box, all over the top to a runner from their own box, their own half. Behind the line of Barcelona's defense. So for me, it's more Garcia, Pedri, Casado, Bernal, whatever combo there in that midfield that need to do a better job. Not so much that front three or even front four who will disturb the build-up phase for sure. But it's after that, it's the phase after that really that is the big problem. And that I think Flick is trying to address. It's just difficult.
Well, it's difficult because I don't know if I don't know at what point the club looks internally and says, "Why do we make these decisions?
Yeah.
Is this what Flick wanted?" Obviously, unlike say Glasner, Flick isn't going to come out and say this in public. But I think we definitely. I mean, we were at the stage where they need to make a movement for somebody at the back in January.
Yeah, and in midfield, he wanted another midfielder in the summer. You understand why? Like a different profile to the ones that he has, who are, for some quite similar, but centre back is needed for sure. Yeah,
midfield, I don't think he's going to get because I mean, if you have to make a decision, that's not people are going to go to him and say, "Well, wait a minute, okay, sweetie, you have Pedri and De Jong and both Marks and Guti, and." There's going to be some other kid. We saw Dro come on, but there's going to be another kid that's good that we can rely on. So I don't think that's so much. I don't think it's going to happen. The question is, with a defender, do you go for a short-term solution? Do you maybe even somebody on loan, or do you actually go and spend money? And if you spend money, do you need to sacrifice somebody?
Yeah, do they have the money? Yeah.
And if you need to sacrifice somebody, is there anybody you can sacrifice? Because this is, as absurd as it sounds, Barcelona are in a situation where the players that they could move that would fetch a fee aren't players that they want to move, like Rafinha, Yamal, or whatever. And the players, or the players that nobody's going to want, or they're injured. Like, there's a world in which you have fit Guti, and maybe you want to move him on because you don't see a spot for him in the 11 because you make different choices, right? And
Guti as in Gavi, you mean?
Gavi, sorry. Guti. Flashback. But that's not, that we're not 2 years ago.
Ter Stegen,
or Ter Stegen despite his wages.
Yeah.
They tried all summer with Fermin. People aren't going to give you 60 million for Fermin.
Yeah.
Maybe they should because he does a lot of work.
Yeah.
So that's where they're really stuck.
Yeah, I think so. And again, we don't really know how much money they have if they don't have to sell first to go and get somebody. Could it be a loan again? Could it be somebody whose contract runs down in the summer, so it'd be a bit cheaper? So but Bayern are not going to let Upamecano go, or Liverpool Konate, or Palace Gay, or players like that who are out of contract in the summer, for example. It's a bit tricky, but as we've been saying all season, something that they should have addressed in the summer, and it's pretty as good as Rashford has been for them. I would have 100% got for centre back then, instead of even on loan, instead of having gone for him.
Well, I've been saying that all season long, so I'm on board with you there. Further up the pitch, Lewandowski's penalty. Again, you're the Techers guy. People look at it and they're going to make fun of Lewandowski. I'm sure there's a good, and he is like. When we see stuff like that, I got a little angry, right? I defended Lewandowski on this one in the sense that he's not perfect. He's getting older. He screws things up a little bit because he doesn't get around the pitch the way he used to. However, when you hit a penalty like that, clearly there's either a slip or some sort of technical mishap.
Yeah. It's a bad one. I mean, you saw the reaction of, the fans in the stand, even the players who were in the stands because of injuries like Gavi. It was half like they could not believe it, and half they were thinking like, "This is ridiculous. Why did he try that?" I don't think.
Well, what was he trying to do?
I'm not really sure. It's quite unlikely because he's quite reliable on penalties, usually. Maybe not so much this season. So it's hard to understand. But maybe just you're right. He's not in confidence. He's not as sharp as he used to.
So it's not. You didn't see.
It's been a difficult season, really, in and out of the team because
very
of injuries.
difficult.
Because Ferran has done well when he played instead of him.
I was hoping you would tell me that there was a slip or some movement or something, or his foot angle isn't what it should be for some reason.
No, I wish I could, but no, I don't think so.
Sorry, Leva, we tried. I really, really tried this time.
No, we're with you.
That's another position where they need to add.
That's the eternal debate, So if we're not sure that they have money for a centre back, that potentially you could find one for, I don't know, let's say 30 million euros. If you want a top number 9, this is not going to be 30 million. And we're talking about 60 a minimum, and they definitely don't have that money right now. So I don't know where you go. I don't know if you keep him another year. I don't know if Ferran is the answer.
I mean, that's a summer move if it happens.
Yeah. Anyway, summer. It won't be in January, but it's a big job for them. You might like a lot of profiles, but you need the money to be able, and the salary space in your salary cap to be able to attract them.
Well, he would clear he's on a ton of money, so he would clear that.
Yeah, true.
That is the good news, I guess.
Absolutely, if you replace him, yeah.
Maybe there's a functional striker you can get. Maybe somebody doesn't need to start every game. Maybe sometimes you go with Ferran Torres. Maybe sometimes it's him. You can muddle through that way.
It's a big summer.
There's some really big calls. For a team that we don't know what they're going to do. I feel like they could win the Champions League and La Liga, or at the same time totally flame out because there's so many inconsistencies.
Yeah.
But I guess maybe for those who like good football and technical players, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a reminder that so many things can go wrong in the structure, in the tactics. But then if you have a genius or a couple geniuses on your team, that can paper over a lot of crap. And that's why we love the game, right?
Exactly. Absolutely. And there's a few teams like that all over Europe this season too,
All right. We haven't had confirmation of how long Pedri's going to be out for. But what does Barcelona look like without Pedri? How do you plug that? Because clearly, you move in when De Jong returns. Clearly, De Jong plus Cazador, De Jong plus Eric Garcia, or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just even on the ball. I mean, forget what before we said it doesn't work defensively, but even on the ball,
absolutely,
you're lacking in creativity, you're lacking in tempo, and then everything goes on Yamal and Rafinha.
Yeah, even more, and how to get the ball to them, quickly, not through like centre back, right back, Lamine kind of thing. There's a moment in the first half of the second half of the game on Tuesday where Barca are trying to play out from the back again. The ball comes to Pedri, he kind of backheels it to, I think, Rafinha already, who gives it back to him in a really difficult way. It's in the air. There's a guy, he's between two Atletico Madrid players, and Pedri still manages to chest the ball and then hit it like into the path of Rafinha. It's just an incredible piece that not even De Jong, I think, can do. Certainly doesn't have that kind of sharpness in him to do it. Eric Garcia, let's not even go there. Casado neither. I think you're going to lose so much. On top of that, Dani Olmo, as we mentioned, is injured. Fermin is injured. So I'm not even sure who you put as a 10. Probably Ferran and Lewandowski, then Rafinha. Then
you could look to move Rafinha inside, maybe.
I Rashford on the left. That could be. But whatever you do, that means you change that kind of front six, if you want, your double pivot, and then the front four completely for the Betis game on Saturday. That is huge now. And if there's a team that you don't want to face with half of your starters out, plus that dodgy high line and your midfield, you're not sure, is this Betis team, especially in Sevilla. So this game on Saturday could be very difficult for them, I think.
And I think more broadly, and then look, I want to remind everybody, we really don't want to be super negative. More broadly, what you said about Yamal and the way you get the ball to Yamal, I think back, I mean, to me, this was most obvious in the semifinal against Inter in the Champions League last season, but we've seen it many, many times. Things aren't going to plan. Pedri's shut down. And then the only game plan is they get the ball to Yamal. And if the other team just sits and defends, it means Yamal gets the ball with four guys in front of him, which then means Yamal has to essentially really risk putting his body on his line because either he takes people on, when there's guys around him, he's gonna get fouled. Okay, fine, I pick up his set pieces, but so what? This is a whole team of Smurfs anyway. And by the way, let's not talk about the center backs who are both 1.80 at this stage. That is what you want to avoid because just the pressure on this kid.
Yeah, I mean, I meant more
physical and mental.
Yeah. I think he can take it though. I meant more getting him the ball in what part of the pitch, because if you get the ball to Koundé and Koundé finds Lamine, he's by the line, by the touch line, he's back to goal, very often on the halfway line. It's difficult. If in the second phase of your build-up, your midfielders can find him in the last third of the pitch, for example, facing maybe the opposition goal, that's a very different story. So this is it. And for me, that's also part of the problem would be if if Pedri is out for another spell, which unfortunately looks like the case.
Yeah, but there's not going to be a second phase of the build-up if you go and play a team that parks the bus. That's the difficulty. And I think, I don't know. I think there's so many big decisions, so much pressure on Flick, pressure he puts on himself. And a lot of it also is going to be concerning Yamal because there have been physical issues. Again, I think this is a lot for somebody who's 18 years old. He's playing a lot more. He's carrying much more of the responsibility than Messi or Cristiano or certainly Holland and probably Mbappe too did at that age. And I think everybody should be mindful of that. All right, enough Barca. How about some quick hits instead?
Let's go, Gab.
Arsenal stay top of the Premier League with a 2-0 win over Brentford. Jules, I thought this was actually much more one-way traffic, although the second goal came late.
Yeah.
But that David Raya save was
big save on the shadow header on that corner. The thing I would say, and it's being big picky because they were solid still. Apart, I know there was that save, but I think they would have won the game regardless. Anyway, they could have scored more goals. I felt in the second half, Arsenal lost a bit of control, which I didn't like. It became a basketball game almost, and they were trying to instead of just keeping the ball and calming it all down, they were going like Rice was running 50 yards with the ball. There was too much verticality when there was no need to be really.
I think I noticed that a little bit too, the back and forth, and I kind of chalked it up to let's put this game to bed. Let's get the second goal and kill the game. And maybe it wasn't the right call, but
they were so superior.
Brentford set pieces, maybe that's...
Yeah, but that plays into Brentford's hand because you lose the ball. Your structure defensively, especially off possession, is not ready. Your rest defense was obviously, as always, very good, even with the players missing in the rotation. But then that pressure came back very quickly to you because you lost the ball far too quickly. So it was better the last 20 minutes or so when they regained control, and then they scored that second goal, which was not a coincidence.
I thought for a minute, I was like, oh, Mosquera's injured. And then I thought to myself, okay, but Saliba's coming back. You've got Timber who could play center back. Yeah. You've got Ben White who could play center back. You've got Calafiori who could play center back. I think you're pretty much stacked.
I know. Let's hope it's not too serious for Mosquera either. Chelsea fall 3-1 away at Leeds. Gab, after one of the best performances of the season on Sunday, comes one of the worst.
Yeah, look, there may have been worse performances this season. This is absolutely horrible. This went back and played into the notion that when there's no Caicedo and there's no Cole Palmer.
Yeah.
Obviously, Palmer not for a long time. We saw Palmer the last half hour. He's not fit. It's not the real Palmer. He still maybe... could have had that goal.
Yeah.
This is such a breakdown. Now, the third goal, obviously, it's a brain fart from Tosin. Fine. But the first one, the header, when Delap completely loses his man, I don't...
Yeah.
Bro, you're a professional footballer. Your dad was a professional footballer. Chelsea signed you because you're supposed to be strong and aggressive. All we've seen from you is the aggression side. Also, Chelsea really struggled to press when he's on the pitch. I don't know if it's a question of...
The goal is his fault, but he was not signed to mark defenders who are better than him in the air, stronger than him. I would not have put him to mark B personally. And it's obviously a half man-to-man marking and zonal marking, which they struggled with pretty much the whole game. For me, this is on Maresca. I understand the rotation. Everybody rotated this midweek. It's normal. They've got a game at the weekend and Champions League, then a game. So it's a lot of game. But Enzo and Andre Santos, again, in a game like this, when you know exactly what Leeds are going to do, is being so aggressive in that midfield.
Right. So you would have put Reece James back in there in midfield and ask Reece James to start 2 games in 4 days.
Yeah. I mean, just even play an hour. But certainly there was no need. Enzo should have never played in this position. We said it on Monday's show.
No, it's not.
Enzo cannot play there.
It's not his bag.
Enzo cannot play there. He was a burden for the team.
As was Delap. Can we say that?
Yeah.
Can we say that? This folly of financializing players where you need to move them around every year. What is the purpose of... This wouldn't have happened with Nico Jackson.
No? Yeah. What, the goal?
No, honestly, would you rather have Nico Jackson... Would Chelsea be... I'm just going to... Simple yes or no question. Was Chelsea a better team this season with Nico Jackson or with Delap?
Yeah, but the Lab has been injured for a while. But I don't think the Joao Pedro, the Lab kind of 10-9 works anyway.
Oh, no.
So, especially not in a game like this.
Bayern are through in the German Cup with a 3-2 win at Union Berlin. Jules, the underlying numbers suggest this time our boy Vinny got rather lucky, and he played a strong lineup. You want to look at these numbers?
Yeah, I mean, Union Berlin had 2 penalties. So obviously the 2.7 XG is taken massively by a 1.6.
Okay, so then it's 1.6 to 0.74. It's still Union Berlin, right?
It's
no,
one.
It's
one. Yeah, it's 1 to 0.7. And the Union were good. They were good on set pieces. The XG on set pieces is higher than the XG.
Bayern took
on
6 shots on goal.
Yes, all 6 on target, by the way, which is rare enough to mention. So weird. But you're right. They were not into it. They got lucky to qualify. I'm always surprised by the strong team, and maybe he played a strong team because Union gave them a lot of trouble in the league already. They're the only team in the league that took points away from them. So maybe he knew it was a tricky game. No sweat, though, for Inter in the Coppa Italia, Gabi, as they roll past second flight, Venezia 5-1.
Yeah, I find out what Andy Juve does.
Yeah, exactly. He
He's
plays in the
good.
Coppa Italia.
No, but he's
Paris born and bred as well, by the way.
But you
so
should
very
be proud of
special.
him. When he arrived, he was presented as a 10. No. Put him on the flank for
Yeah.
Denzel Dumfries. He'll give you a game. Marcus Thuram scoring as well, which is nice to see. Then we got Esposito. All good. Venezia, not very good. There's a reason they're second flight. Jules, we're not done because we have more quick hits.
Yes.
Wild stuff at Craven Cottage. Manchester City get the 3 points, but a 5-1 lead in minute 56 turns into a 5-4 win against Fulham, and some scary moments at the end for Pep. This whole idea of Pep is all about control. We control the...
No more control.
You're controlling nothing right now.
Yeah, there's no more control. That evolution that we've been mentioning a lot on the show is part of the reason why it's like that. The Pep Linders influence on the verticality, the pressing, everything you want. I still think this is a badly balanced team anyway. Whether you want the control, the structure, anything to do with the ball. Because Guardiola has to save on the line. It's not really on the line. I don't think Josh King ball is going in anyway. But it was a bit scary. You remember the old motto from Johan Cruyff? I would rather win 5-4 than 1-0. Right. This is BS. We all know that. If you ask Pep,
it's not even what Pep believes. Yeah.
Exactly true. So this was entertaining for a neutral like us. Sure, watching it. And there's a lot of good things up to 5-1, but certainly the last 40 odd minutes are terrible.
Coming on the back of the Leeds game, which was very similar. Yeah, he's got to work on something.
Yeah, and Gabi, in that game, Erling Haaland scored his 100th Premier League goal in just his 111th Premier League game. Put this in context for us, please.
It's pretty remarkable when you compare it to the other goal scorers. Alan Shearer did it in 124. And by the way, I have to put my proviso out there that this number's a bit fugazi because Alan Shearer played top flight football in England before the Premier League started. So this is just limited to Premier League games. Kane 141, Aguero 147. I think about Haaland is even in this game, he could have had a hat trick.
Yeah, easily.
He is a one-man wrecking crew, and it does feel like the team completely plays for him, just like the team, played for Kane or whatever. But these are unbelievable numbers, and if you're a Premier League fan, you're blessed to have him here. A Nordi Mukiele own goal allows Liverpool to get a draw at home to Sunderland. But that only happened thanks to my boy, Federico Chiesa, running the length of the pitch to spook Wilson Isidore into absolutely squandering that transfer winner. Do we need another positivity corner here to cheer up Liverpool fans, Jules?
Remind me, who let Isidore on his own? Oh, your boy Chiesa as well. So he made up for the mistake, right?
Yeah, it was. It could happen. I'm sorry, if Liverpool scored at the other end, because that was off a set piece, wasn't it? So if they score, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but they didn't score, and the keeper get the ball and then saw Isidore on his own and just hoofed the ball. Well done for making up for his mistake. For Chiesa.
He's not a defender.
Very true. That's very true. I thought it would be better. We said on Monday I wanted to to keep the same team, and he did, apart from Robertson and Kirkes, but the front four was the same. Because I thought there would be some improvement, and in the end, there wasn't. And Sunderland are a better team right now than Liverpool, even at Anfield. So it's probably a fair result. I'm not sure where you go from there. Salah benched again, obviously, came on for the last half hour, did nothing either. I'm not sure really what you turn, because I really thought what we saw against West Ham could be the start of something, and clearly this game showed that probably not.
Didn't help Isak either.
No. And I talked about Mo Salah, Gabi. On the bench again, what did you make of it?
Look, I mean, Slot came out and spoke about it. Well, he's not the only one who's happy when he's out. That's fine. my concern here and why this is more serious is it's not like you're benching him because he's going away anyway. Let's find a way of playing. It's that the system you have in place, the guy who's replacing him in the team is a guy who plays completely different. It's a completely different profile. It's a completely different style, which means that if this setup works, and by the way, it's still very TBD to see if it works with Szoboszlai on the right. When Salah comes back, he's going to disrupt things if he goes into the right wing, or you're going to have to change again. Or maybe you play Salah at center forward because Isak hasn't improved. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a really, really big call, and I'll be really curious to see if he gets more starts ahead of the AFCON. Ollie Watkins shines for Villa, who battled back to win 4-3 away to Brighton. By the way, Ollie Watkins set some ups and downs this year. I was very happy for him. Jules, it's now 8 wins in 9 Premier League games for Unai Emery, which means I'm forced to continue asking you about him.
Yeah, I mean, incredible turnaround. They were 2-0 down away at Brighton, and they won. And then they got to 4-2 and then 4-3, obviously. And it was a bit tense in the end because Beza, who replaced Martinez just during the warm-up when Martinez got back spasm, made an amazing save on a Welbeck header to keep the win for Villa. So I don't think their margins have been that great, even against Leeds when they won 2-1.
It's Emery black magic. It's Emery.
Well,
he looks like a little vampire, and that's what he's doing.
The only defeat in that is the nines were Liverpool, by the way, who obviously can't beat anybody apart from Villa, the most informed team in the league, which is remarkable, really. They share their goals a lot. They're very good on set pieces. They're obviously very solid physically too. So the game against Arsenal on Saturday would be very cool, I think.
Amadou Onana is a gem, by the way.
Yeah. Real Madrid destroy Athletic Club de Bilbao 3-0. And who else? Paris born and bred, Kylian Mbappe, my boy, backs 2 goals. All good now for Xabi Alonso, Gabi?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, yeah. So you know that Bilbao were terrible. This was a very good performance.
Yeah.
I think Bilbao, in some ways, made it easier for them. Vini could have had a couple goals as well, but I think you have to modulate the opponent. Bilbao were terrible. I did not expect. I know they've had the rough times.
They've been bad in big games.
But I did not expect them to sink so low. I still don't know if this Camavinga Tchouaméni thing is something that you can do on a consistent basis without angering everyone. I don't think this is the right lineup for Real Madrid, but right now it obviously is. And as we said, Mbappe papers over a lot of cracks. Guti Romero scores twice, a second and overhead kick deep in injury time, and Spurs come from behind twice at St. James Park to draw 2-2 at Newcastle. Jules, signs of life for the man with 2 first names?
I don't know, because they were very bad, Spurs, in this game. Okay, they were unlucky on the penalty given to Newcastle because that's never a penalty, and it's another mistake from Howard Webbs and his people.
Just describe the penalty, because I thought this was
If you give that penalty, it's Bentancur and Burn going at it with each other, grabbing each other, not just Bentancur. Bentancur is not looking at the ball. I know this is a problem, but if you give this one, you give 10 penalties per game in the Premier League. In any league.
I don't have a problem with the whole giving 10 penalties per game, but then you have to do that, and people will stop doing it.
Yeah.
That situation, if you believe Bentancur, who I think weighs about half as much as Dan Burn, you know, come on.
And then, I mean, the best bit was maybe Richarlison trying to get a penalty with the most ridiculous diving straight after that. So Romero saved the day again. Frank said it was a brilliant overhead kick. It wasn't. It was one of the worst overhead kicks you've ever seen. But they all count.
No, the kick itself was fine. It's the way it just trickles. It trickles through
It's with his shin, massively.
I know, but on top of that, it trickles through like 50 people.
That's what I mean. One of the worst, but they all count. Ibrahim Maza scored the only goal as Bayer Leverkusen get revenge by winning 1-0 in the Pokal against Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, I didn't know who this dude was before this season. Not really, but he's been...
Last season was amazing in the second division.
I don't watch second Bundesliga. Yeah. Sorry, I leave that to Rhino Hanlon and you, evidently.
Yeah, Argentine International.
But, phenomenal. There may be an issue, though, with Serhou Guirassy, again, coming off the bench, wasn't happy at the weekend. Yeah. Watch his space. I don't think Fabio Silva is the answer here. We may get VAR for both corner kicks and second yellow cards at the World Cup, Jules. You okay with this?
Yeah,
I know Sean Dyche likes the corner kick one.
Yeah, of course. I'm all for it as long as it's quick, so we don't spend 5 minutes debating if it's a corner or not for that team. But if you think about the first goal that Villa conceded yesterday, which was obviously, thanks to the replay, in 5 seconds you could tell that it was not a corner but a goal kick, then that goal would not have happened. I'm all for this. Same for the second yellows. Two, if you think about the red card for Denmark against Scotland in that incredible World Cup playoff. That would have never happened. It was not a second yellow. And Christensen should not have been sent off. So for this, as long as it's quick, I would not want it if it takes 5 minutes to decide.
Yeah, I mean, I think the corner kicks, I think we said, should be quick. There's not that many instances where you really have a doubt about it.
I agree.
I don't think it's quite that big a deal in the sense that actually not that many, I mean, I don't know if anybody keeps count of this, but how many goals have been given? I mean, I know it does happen, and they win a lot World Cup, but like it just doesn't happen very often. It's unlucky that God is targeting Sean Dyche, clearly. The second yellow is the argument against it that people always make. It's like, oh, but then it's a slippery slope. What if the second yellow is legitimate and the first yellow isn't? Well, my answer to that would be, I'm sorry, if you get a nonsense first yellow, you just accept it, and then you act smarter, and you don't get the second yellow.
Yeah,
players do this all the time. They adjust the way they play so that you don't pick up the second yellow. So I'm in favor of this. I don't know if I want it in UEFA competitions. For something like the World Cup where the stakes are like this, I'm open to it.
Yeah, okay. Juventus also advanced in the Coppa Italia with a 2-0 win over Udinese. And Gab, we finally saw some Jonathan David.
I thought he was man of the match. And look, he can play center forward. And what did I tell? Did I not say this? I said, hey, just because Dusan Vlahovic, who people didn't like and didn't want, and now then all of a sudden it's like he was the most important player in the history of Juventus.
And he's injured for 3 months anyway.
He's injured. Jonathan David will be here next year. Yeah. Luis Openda will likely be here next year, right? This is your future. Use this as a time to imagine a future without Vlahovic. Yeah. I thought it was a good win. It's time! It's time! It's Texter time! Jules, Lyon announced around about 200 million in losses, but that's not the main reason we're talking Texter today. And it involves our other buddy, Mr. Marinakis, who's being dragged into this.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's nothing we didn't know or suspected.
But this is so self-inflicted. But this is so unnecessary from Texter.
Texter went on to this YouTube show in Brazil, as you do. Obviously, I think it lasted like 3 hours, that show or whatever. And in there, he openly said, and publicly, because you can go and check it on YouTube, that of course, him and Marinakis had a little arrangement on some transfer fees. Players like Niakate and Mangala, both for 60 million package. I'm like, hang on, who? Matt Turner. Or Matt Turner and Danilo were going to come for an incredible amount of money as well. And Texter said, oh, that's what you do in football between friends. And, basically saying that suited Marinakis. And then when Marinakis bought some Botafogo players, then they did the same. And I'm like, okay, one, why are you saying it publicly? Two, in a way, don't worry, JT, because we can all see it. We knew the value of those players, and we knew that there was something dodgy there.
Yeah, and I think the main thing here, look, he defended himself saying, well, the translation wasn't great. And I'm like, okay, translation wasn't great.
We could all see it.
He's speaking in English.
Exactly. What translation in what language?
What are you talking about? But secondly, what he's saying is that, look, if you have a business relationship with somebody, you may cut them a break, maybe because you want to continue doing business with them, and they may cut you a break, and this happens in other industries. And this is fine, and it's true, right? Sometimes people do us deals, and we do them deals, right? Because we want to keep the relationship. However, there's one big difference here. These are all different clubs that you're involved with. Botafogo, Lyon, you may have the same maybe part of your multi-club ownership structure, but when you say that they're all, and it's the thing from the perspective of the fans, they're all independent. They all want to do well. And when you're saying this, oh yeah, look, I'll have some losses here at Botafogo, there's some profits here at Lyon and vice versa, and I'll help Marinakis when he needs some liquidity, then he helps me. You're showing that you have no concept of what a football club is and what it means to the fans. And I tell you, without the fans, you have zero revenue. You have zero. It's not a business. It's not a business without the fans. For you to come out and say this, it just shows such ignorance. Yeah. Such foolishness. Why would you do this?
And there's another story developing as well on that. Some players were transferred from Botafogo to Lyon, but never played for Lyon, like Igor Jesus or Jair. And now some people are asking for Lyon to pay some of the money, some of the transfer fees that apparently they were ready to pay. But I forgot all of those players were never there, which again is another I think another text or kind of sort of manipulation.
But and he also said something else that was really stupid. Beyond that, which is, by the way, isn't obvious. I mean, there's no fair market value agreement, I guess, there, or maybe there is with the NCJ. Maybe they'll investigate. I don't know.
Yeah.
But when he talks about, isn't it fantastic that you can watch games in the Premier League and you have former Botafogo players on both sides. I'm like, it's not fantastic. It's stupid. If I'm a Botafogo fan, I don't care about this.
I know.
Why would I care about it?
Yeah.
Why would you care about it?
Antonio Conte reaches deep into his bench and Napoli end up needing penalties to get past Cagliari after he finished 1-1 in regular time.
We know he's going to do this. I got no problem him doing it. He's obsessive that way. But it does mean that Lorenzo Luca is part of the second 11 now.
Scored.
And he scored. How about that? Went to penalties. The Cagliari keeper, Caprile, is on his day is exceptional. He's made a couple big blunders this year, but honestly, he makes saves that very few people not named Mike or Jan or Thibaut make. I'm not saying he's as good as those guys.
No,
not yet,
right,
but he is something else.
Yeah.
So they advance, which might annoy Conte, but bro, deal with it. Your second team did the job. Ugly scenes in Nice after that defeat to Lorient, Jules. You think Jim Ratcliffe will be overly concerned?
It doesn't seem like it, Gab, because he's still to this day. I mean, this morning I checked again before coming into the show. He hasn't called his head coach, Frank Hayes. On Sunday night, when the players came back and the staff came back from Lorient, where they lost again, the 6 defeats in a row. They flew into Nice. Then they took the coach to go from the airport to the training ground where
they parked their cars. Yeah,
by the cars, and 400 ultras were waiting for them. And things got really, really ugly, as you mentioned. Violence, insults, spitting at players, punching players, kicking players.
Jeremy Boga among those who was hit, I think.
Yeah, right? Boga, Terem Moffi are both on sick leave this week. Jonathan Klose has also gone to see the police, so 3 of them have pressed charges. It was horrible to see. What is maybe even more horrible is that the mayor of Nice, Christian Estrosi, has put a message on social media saying like nothing happened. Basically, I paraphrase, but that's what I meant. Nothing happened. The Nice fans are not bad people. Let's just move on, which is unbelievable.
That's terrible.
Frank Hayes revealing yesterday in an interview in L'Equipe newspaper that nobody from the club called him or his players until Tuesday, including Jean-Claude Blanc, who is the CEO of sports for Ineos. So his boss, who didn't even think he was bad enough to call the players or the manager.
Well, maybe Jean-Claude Blanc didn't know because maybe it was a French story. Maybe all the news reports were in French. And how could Jean-Claude Blanc?
Yeah, true.
Oh, I see.
Just to finish on this, Hayes had this incredible sentence in his interview. He said some of the fans had pétanque balls in their hands. And he said, like, what was it for? They were not going to play pétanque that night. So it was to threaten and throw at the bus and the players' cars and all of that. It's not the first time that there's issues like that in Nice, where the ultras are very powerful and very involved, especially when things go badly. But it's things that should never happen, not just in football, but nobody should go to their workplace and be threatened by somebody else.
Yeah, and I have a personal message for the mayor of Nice, because your reaction is straight out of the playbook that we saw in Italy when we used to see players who were racially abused, and then somebody from the city or the club would be
exactly
but the people of this city aren't racist. Nobody's saying that they are. Yeah. Nobody's saying that the people of Nice are criminals, right? I go to Nice every summer. I don't see criminals on the street. I don't believe people from Nice, nobody believes people from Nice or Nice fans are criminals. But the people who are there, who are assaulting Klaus and Boga and Frank Hayes with the stupid pétanque balls and whatever, those people are engaging in criminal behavior. Yeah. And you have to accept that. It's not an attack on you. Don't get so stupidly defensive about it.
I know. FIFA have changed the release date for players heading to AFCON this winter. It was supposed to be December 8th. And after pressure from the clubs, it will be December 15th, just 7 days before the first game of the tournament.
Yeah, so FIFA say, but look, this is exactly what we did for the World Cup in Qatar, and now this is the new the new established practice if you hold your competition in winter. or when it's the European winter. All I would say to this is I'm not surprised. FIFA, CAF, the confederation that runs Africa, is in a very weak position right now. They've effectively been taken over by FIFA for some time now. And I think there's reasons for the takeover, which maybe were valid ones, but certainly the days when CAF did what they wanted are over. I don't think it's realistic for CAF to play the tournament in the summer. It really isn't, for many reasons, starting with the weather and the rainy season and whatever else. This is when they have to play it. All I would say is, if I'm CAF, I can say, you know what? I don't get the same level of respect, because for the Euros, they sure as hell don't release players 7 days before. So I think it is a bit of a slap in the face, and I think it was insensitively done. And also, doing it so close to the date.
Yeah.
You knew this tournament was happening.
From the clubs,
Okay, but what? The clubs only found out now? This is where I think we can blame FIFA. Because I understand, if you're a club, you're saying, I pay Mo Salah and Zambonguisa and whatever. Actually, he's injured, but I pay these guys. I need more say, blah, blah, blah. I need them, right? But then you start before, and they probably did, and you petition FIFA before, and FIFA makes a change before. Because what about these national team coaches who have to prepare their stuff? And they have a preparation of 2 weeks lined up, thinking it's going to be 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And now, on what? December 3rd, I think is when it was announced.
Yeah.
They come out and say, oh, no, by the way, they're not coming for another 12 days. You sit around, twiddle your thumbs for an extra week. Yeah. That's just stupid.
And it's unfair for the countries who start. The ones who play the second week, the first game, that's fine. But the one who will start, like Morocco, who played the opening game, is terrible for them.
Completely unnecessary. Spain have won the Women's Nations League, Jules. But it's bad news for Aitana Bonmati.
Yeah, it is bad news. She broke her leg at training. She'll be out for between 4 and 5 months. So we're in December. That tells you that she might be back, if she's lucky, for the end of the season. Without her, Spain still beat Germany comfortably. This was the second leg of this final. So it's not like the men. The women play home and away.
3-0, was it?
2 games, 3-0 after drawing in Germany. They've won the 2 Nations League. They beat France in the first one 2 years ago. This one now. They are, as we know, by far the best team in Europe, in the world, even if they didn't win the Euros, obviously, against England. But that still doesn't reflect how good they are. And even without Aitana, but it's really bad news for her and for Barcelona as well.
4 or 5 months, Aitana may be back for the Champions League final against Juventus.
Yeah. Exactly. Juventus or Roma or who else do you? That's it. That's all. The final report on events at Hillsborough, which led to 97 Liverpool supporters losing their life, has come out. Gabby seemed mad that it's been 36 years and only now is their closure.
Yeah, I would say it's probably closure more than justice. There have been so many reports and reviews over the years, and people might be wondering, why are people still talking about it? Well, the reason I'm talking about it is 97 people died. And there was a massive police cover-up. And there was collusion between the police, politicians, and portions of the media. I don't think that these facts are in doubt.
Yeah.
And this isn't going to bring anybody back, but you want to have a final word. We already had. It's been, 12 years since the apology from the Prime Minister, David Cameron, the Conservative Prime Minister, who apologized, who basically said all the things that I just said. But you still, I think, deserve a level of justice, a level of explanation. In this case, this report here was by the Independent Office for Police Conduct, and what they found was absolutely appalling. Again, we've known most of these things, but just as a reminder, the stand, the Leppings Lane, where this tragedy unfolded, the capacity should have been 3,089. 7,200 tickets were sold, which is one of the many factors that contributed to the crush, but most of them going back to the policing. That story that was confirmed about this guy, this Scott Bettison, who alcohol tested the corpses, including children, because he wanted to find evidence that people were drunk and caused this. Absolutely appalling, heartbreaking stuff. And the other thing is, every single policeman who was involved in this, they all retired. So none of them faced prosecutions. Yes, and which again is another slap in the face. I think. Paris Saint-Germain are reportedly looking for an affiliate club, just like Liverpool. Jules, you know my thoughts on multi-club ownership, and now it feels like it can't be stopped.
Well, I don't know if it can be stopped or not, but they've already pretty much added. They own a big chunk of Braga, for example, in Portugal. They looked for a long time to buy Leeds United at the time where it was for sale. Also in Spain and Malaga. So they've been looking. They believe it'd be great for the young players, for example, that they will invest more and more in financially and in terms of playing. So again, it depends how you use your multi-club ownership. So let's see where they go. They also have a stadium to think about. So there's a lot of things right now on the table for them. So I'm not sure this will be done anytime soon either.
And an NBA franchise too, maybe.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, in Paris. The Zone has pulled out of its deal to broadcast the Belgian Pro League. Gab, it's déjà vu with what we went through in France, for example.
It is. The bizarre thing here is that deal in Belgium was relatively new, and it went through 2030. And look, we're not kind of like a media podcast, so I'm not going to get into the Zone's business model. But I think everybody knows that the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia invested a lot of money in the Zone ahead of the Club World Cup, money which then just went through the other end to FIFA, funnily enough. The New York Times reporting that the Public Investment Fund now being a lot more careful what they spend their money on, that they've had this internal review. You hear about some big projects in Saudi being scaled back or being tried to make more rational. Yeah. I think the government of Saudi Arabia says we're going to be more careful how we spend our money. The knock-on effect for this, and we touched upon this before, is if you're the Belgian Pro League, how do you react? They're going to take them to court. Unlike in France, where in France they reached a deal because I think there wasn't much left on the contract, right, time-wise.
Yeah.
And you might also say because it's Nasser, But this is a big blow, and I think the whole business model now in a lot of, let's say, mid-sized European leagues is being called into question. Chelsea-bound Strasbourg's starlet Emmanuel Emega has been suspended by the club. Jules, please tell me it's not because he thought Strasbourg was in Germany.
This is a great story, I think. So at least the game, so we missed the game at the weekend. We're not sure if he's going to come back after that for the Conference League game against Aberdeen. And he's the club captain, by the way, too, and their best player as well. There's a lot of things that he said recently that really annoyed people at the club, and that led to this ban on top of attitude at training as well and things like that. One of them was right. He said that when he signed for Strasbourg, he didn't know where the city was. He thought he was in Germany. Later found out that he was in France. If you are from that region, on the French side, certainly, I don't know about the German side. On the French side, this feels like insulting. And I think it is, to be fair. For everything that happened between France and Germany over that region, obviously, in history, that was not very smart from him. He also said that when we asked him about, Strasbourg lost to Monaco, drew with PSG, lost against Marseille, lost against Lyon, all those big games. He said, well, I wasn't there. I wasn't there against Monaco. I wasn't there against PSG. I wasn't there against Marseille. To explain why basically the team without him is rubbish and what the rest of his team and his teammates are rubbish. The only other thing is it took them a bit of time to suspend him, which either they were waiting for the moment, i.e. we play away at Toulouse, we should win without him anyway, maybe.
Not after Toulouse's recent magic. Well, 2-2 draw.
Yeah, with Marseille. But still, I think he deserved that ban. And I think if he comes to Chelsea with this kind of attitude, he could have a lot of trouble.
Well, this is also the guy, of course, he got absolutely pilloried by the fans when sort of... And Rossinier had to go. The manager had to go and defend him.
Yeah, that's not really his fault. When Chelsea decided to announce him as the new signing, it was in September for July, which is a bit weird.
He has an agent; he can control it. It's not entirely on the club. But I'm still shocked by the Strasbourg thing because I was trying to point out he's not 18 years old, right?
He's 22.
He's 22 years old. He's obviously came up. I think he's from Rotterdam or The Hague or someplace like that. But you know what? He's lived in Belgium. He lived in Austria.
Yeah.
Strasbourg may not be famous for some things, but it is where the European Parliament is. The way that Strasbourg is spelt is different from the German spelling.
Yeah.
I don't expect you to be completely ignorant, but you're showing your stupidity. Even if it's true that you thought it was in Germany and you were going to the Bundesliga, to Strasbourg, who you've never heard of in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Why would you come out and say something that A, makes you look stupid?
I agree.
You know, leave aside what you said before about the Alsace and history, and I'm sure he's never heard of Arsene Wenger, for example. It just, you're right. He needs a serious attitude adjustment if he's going to come to Chelsea.
The World Cup draw is finally here. Gabby will be on Friday. We'll be tuning in all around the world, and it's going to be a star-studded event with legends from other sports too. What about we rank them?
We should. Obviously, the musical legends that are there, Village People. Can't imagine why they were invited.
Yeah.
In fact, I can. But yes. So we're going to have Wayne Gretzky, Shaquille O'Neal, Tom Brady, Aaron Judge. They're going to be the draw assistants.
Yes.
And
Rio Ferdinand is the conductor of the draw.
Yeah, but he's a football guy. So I'm just going to focus on
the
Eli Manning. He's going to be the red carpet guy who, okay, first of all, I say this as an Eagles fan. Eli does not belong with the other four. I don't care.
Definitely
two
not.
Super Bowls.
Well, I mean,
he won. So let's leave him out of the running.
Yeah.
If I had to rank them in terms of greatness, I'll give you two rankings. And we'll do the greatness ranking and the likability ranking.
Don't go with whether you like the guy or not, or the team that he used to play for. Because I see you coming with Tom Brady. Go on.
Okay, number one has to be Wayne Gretzky. He is the great one. There is no argument there.
Yeah.
Number two, grudgingly, I do have to go with Tom Brady.
Okay, so Shaq. You are actually objective.
Yes. I try to be. I have to be. Likeability, Tom Brady would be bottom for obvious reasons. he might even be below Eli. But yes, greatness.
Yeah.
Look, Aaron Judge is a big man who scores a lot of home runs.
Yes.
Shaq is an even bigger man, and he's Shaq.
And he's won more than Aaron Judge. So.
Yeah, Aaron Judge still has some time.
Sure, but there's still no World Series for him.
We'll go Shaq. Are you on board with that? Gretzky, Brady, Shaq, Judge?
Yeah, and that's pretty spectacular, to be fair.
All right, Jules, this brings us to an end, but show will be back on Monday without me. Nathan Manua is filling in as I celebrate Sinterklaas. No, I'm just getting a day off. Until then, love the game, love your neighbor, love yourself.